Justin, Jim Harbaugh at his weekly press conference called it a big, big, big game. I think he threw about three bigs in there. He called it a showdown, all those things. Because if you look at the Big Ten, and I'm the college football nerd that enjoyed Purdue and Maryland last Saturday. It was a great game, went down to the wire, 2-point conversion. But, let's be honest, this is what the Big Ten is. Unless there's a miracle upset the first Saturday of December, the Western Division is not going to win the Big Ten. Right. So rule them out. It'll be a fun race. They'll all beat each other up. They'll probably all go 5-4 in the conference, or probably 4-5 because they'll lose to all the teams in the anyway.
Right.
It's gonna be a melee over there, fun to watch, but it's probably not going to produce a champion. Maryland's improved, but they've pretty much proven they're not quite ready for that jump. Michigan State's dropped off. We got 3 games. We got Ohio State, Penn State, we got Michigan, Penn State, and we got the game at the end of the year. We got 3 games to decide the conference pretty much. So this is the first one of those 3. So it's pretty huge.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, that is what the Big Ten has come down to. And we all kind of knew it when they switched to these divisions, from the legends and leaders. But, early in the year, we thought Minnesota, wow, they look like a, maybe top 15 team, top 10 team. And then they go out and lose. And so Big Ten West being Big Ten West is pretty much what it is. But, ultimately for Michigan, what this means is you've had a pretty easy go of it up until this point. Obviously you went on the road to Kinnick Stadium. You went on the road to Memorial Stadium in Bloomington and beat some very mediocre teams. Let's just call it what it is. And so now in your first real test, it's an absolute must win if you want to win the Big Ten. So I wonder how the coaching staff is responding to that type of pressure and just weirdness, because last year you look back at it and, Michigan had some tests before they went to Penn State on the road, and they, the Big Ten was just a lot more evenly spread out, I thought. And they were tested pretty well throughout the season, whereas we're halfway through the year and you don't really still know, is this Michigan team really, really good, or are they just good? And so I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to see what Penn State brings to the table as well, because you have Drew Singleton, who is a stud at running back, the freshman. Sean Clifford is 28 years old, I think, at quarterback, and obviously has a ton of experience. And so I'm excited to see what this Michigan defense can do with an offense that has looked pretty solid, because really the only offense that Michigan has been, had to go up against is Maryland, and they struggled at times, but I thought they ended up with a pretty good outing against Maryland. So here's one more test for them.
If we look at recruiting rankings, if we look at the way the units have been developed on both sides of this matchup, Penn State and Michigan are pretty comparable rosters. So from a personnel standpoint, the talent looks to be pretty comparable. At the same time, they're just a more proven unit. They went out and did it last year. They've played a little bit better competition this year, especially inside the Big Ten to date, even though Penn State went on the road to Purdue. That might be the better single game win. But over the last few weeks, Michigan's played a couple of teams that were decent, where Penn State has not. So do you think there are any significant advantages on the Michigan side? Do you think there are any spots where you feel real confident they can take advantage of Penn State?
I think the one spot is, and everyone wants to talk about JJ McCarthy, but I think that's the spot, is utilizing JJ's arm and going, deep on Penn State's secondary, because Michigan, I'm not sure if Roman Wilson will be back this week. He was out last week for concussion protocol. He's been, Michigan's really go-to guy, him and Ronnie Bell. But Michigan is still so deep at that wide receiver position, and Penn State's secondary has been a little bit suspect this year. Their front seven is very good, but there have been times where their secondary has been torn apart, and so that's where I see Michigan going at it. we've seen a really good balance from Michigan's offense so far of you establish the run like we all know Jim Harbaugh wants to do, but with J.J. McCarthy and what he can do with his arm, they've opened it up a little bit, but they still don't go, Ohio State, C.J. Stroud trying to throw for 500 yards, right? They still go back to that run game, and I thought it's been a pretty good balance so far. So I would expect, though, that in this game, if it's dry, I expect them to go to the air a little bit more than they have in the past. And I expect them to take some deep shots because really, 3 weeks ago, J.J. McCarthy was missing some of those deep shots. It was, in the first couple games, it was missing it by a few feet. Then it was a few inches. And then it was like, all right, when's he going to hit one? But they didn't take those shots at Indiana. And so I expect them to do that. The stats are coming out about J.J. McCarthy in play action and on the run. I mean, Mark, I know C.J. Stroud is really good. I don't know if there's somebody better that moves on the move to their right and throws the ball better than J.J. McCarthy right now.
And then we got Blake Corum, who, because of Hassan Haskins' presence last year being the main guy, was like a nice feature player in space. Let's get him in space. Let's get him his 15 carries. Let's throw some swing passes to him and show what he can do. But now he's become like a man. Like, give him the ball over and over and over and let him beat on the defense. And it seems like he's physically developed himself as well to be a battering ram. In addition to being the guy that makes people miss in space, he's more of a complete back, it seems, now.
He actually told me, it was funny enough. He said the first couple games when he really only played like a quarter and a half, he said he felt worse then than after he felt after, 30 carries or 29 carries. He said, I love getting the ball that much and I want to do it every single time. Cause I said to him, I was like, it's gotta be good to have Donovan back now that you can, give some of the load to him and take a break. He's like, no, I want the ball. Which you got to love as a Michigan fan, right? That's just your workhorse running back. But, I'll be honest, Mark, last year, I wasn't sure if Blake Corum could be that workhorse guy. Hassan Haskins has the body for that, right? Blake Corum's a little bit smaller. He's, strong as an ox, right? He's like a circle, a square. I don't know what shape he is. He's so big, but he's smaller, So I wasn't sure that he could actually do that with 30 carries, but he had zero problem, in the past few games of doing that. And I know he loves it. And so I don't know if you saw the screenshot of him versus Indiana where there's 5 guys around him and he somehow, takes it and breaks it. And he didn't end up scoring. They marked him down at the 1, but he really can do it at all levels. He can pound the rock in between the tackles. And then when you do get him in space, it's one little step and he's gone. So that's where I think J.J. McCarthy said it actually in his press conference this week. When this offense is running on all cylinders, like, I don't know what defenses are going to stop them, but I'm not sure they've gotten to quite all cylinders yet. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they can put it all together this weekend.
Yeah, Justin, Michigan's late wake-up call against Indiana forced me to watch more of the game than I was going to anyway. Michigan, even though it was the big noon game, we know how TV networks make decisions, not necessarily selecting the best game, but the best TV rating team, of course. So I had my eyes on all sorts of other games because there were some really great matchups at noon. But I kept seeing 10-10, 10-10, 10-10. We got into the second half, and I'm like, oh, I got to see this now. I got to see, if we've got an upset on our hands, or at least see Michigan get pushed and how they're going to break away. So I did see the second half of the game and then caught the Blake Corum run on the highlights. Absolutely. Justin Rose here, Blue by 90. So Blue by 90 podcast uploads every Monday and Friday. Also, blueby90.com. So you can go straight there. And you'll see it right here on the banner as well.